Hello everybody, how are you guys doing? Welcome to Future Trend today. I just wanted to take a step back to give you guys an opportunity to understand why I decided to take on this journey of posting YouTube videos to begin with. And my journey is fairly new compared to most people in this space, but I feel it's important to at least draw attention to this topic of money and trends and technology, and pretty much everything that at least affects our global economy. As I find interest in these things, I figured I'd just use this as a platform to share my thoughts and draw attention to individuals that I felt really contributed to this space in general. I'm not typically the kind of person who spends most of my time watching TV or sports, and nothing against those who do. I mean, I was at one point really into soccer, and I'm occasionally interested in the highlights of Formula One races because, well, those are at least the two sports that I'm really into. But I really hadn't found the opportunity to share my thoughts on the economy with anyone around me as openly as I felt I could. As my eyes gradually opened, I realized that most topics are likely going to be met with ridicule or for lack of better terms, hate, or just overall confusion in general. And I just felt, why not just start a YouTube page that drew attention to what I've discovered, and for my friends and family that end up watching these videos, they'll at least have a better idea as to where I draw my information from, and what I would typically believe to be relatively credible information, because I tend to lean on channels that go in depth on research and kind of mentor me from a distance. And yeah, I just felt, if anything, I might as well just give you guys the opportunity to get a better idea as to why I started this channel. Just drawing from the fact that we are currently past the midway point in 2020, my journey started in I believe it started a lot earlier. I majored in business economics in university, and I've been naturally curious from the get-go. So I just figured, if anything, let me just draw attention to the space that I feel you guys may be able to draw from. So in today's video, I just want to touch on who those individuals are that you guys can also take advantage of and draw a lot of knowledge from, in that they share a lot of great and valuable information. And at the end of the day, it's important to understand that we're all adults here. At least I hope you guys are. If you aren't, I'd recommend asking your parents or your older siblings to explain certain things to you. But we're all adults here. We're able to make decisions for ourselves. And as a disclaimer, this is not financial advice. This is not really any advice at all. It's just me discussing my thoughts and drawing attention to a space that I feel may be necessary for you guys to pay attention to as well, because we are in an ever-changing and evolving world, and why not pay attention to things that might affect you in the long term? That's at least how I look at things. Initially, when it comes to the digital asset space or cryptocurrencies in general, I started looking or paying attention to this space around the tail end of 2017. And like everybody else who paid attention at that time, money was essentially, a lot of money was being made in this new asset space, new asset class, at a very rapid pace. So like everybody else, I paid attention, and I crashed and burned when I didn't cash in my profits. I think it was the beginning of January, and I learned the hard way. Investing isn't as simple as most people on YouTube or Instagram try to make it seem. It takes a lot of attention to detail. It takes a lot of concentration and focus, and a lot of research to make sure that you are invested or are making the right investment decision. So that was how I started within this space. Bitcoin was obviously it was the poster child for this. Like, everybody went crazy when it hit $20,000, and it drew the attention of everyone who was remotely in the space of investing or trading. So It also caught the eyes of mainstream media when it comes to news. You had CNBC and CNN and a whole bunch of other broadcasting networks that drew attention to the space at that time too. But the important question here is, what is worth paying attention to? Because there's a lot of hype in this space. There's a lot of uneducated or misinformation in the space in total. And I am in no means an expert. I'm still learning, and I have an ethos that I live by. I'm pretty much open to any. I'm open and I'm hunting for any opportunity to improve. So that means understanding or improving my understanding of the space and doing my best to be able to discern what is again hype and just propaganda, or just pretty much misinformation, versus what is true and factual. And I tend to try to draw attention. I've always paid attention to that as a telltale. If something is hypey, it's relatively easy to tell if you really do your research. But for those that are starting off, I'd like to give you guys a cheat sheet, essentially. And this is just my take on things. I drew a lot of my information from a few very reliable sources of information on YouTube. And yes, it's important to do your own research and pay attention to organizations like the IMF, the World Bank, governments and what they release, because at the end of the day, policies are set in place by them. And when it comes down to how to position yourself in this evolving world, which is likely going to be a digital one primarily, it's really hard to differentiate what is real and what isn't. So I've done, I think probably about, it's safe to say, 2.5 years of just bouncing off a few channels and just some alternative sources of information outside of the news or mainstream rhetoric. And I drew a lot of knowledge from the following channels I'm about to share with you guys. Initially, my first search came up when I was trying to do some research around marijuana stocks, and trying to identify what the best picks were in that sector. And one thing led to the next, and I stumbled upon a channel called Love for Crypto. And cryptocurrencies at that time was something that I knew of while in university. A few friends had invested in Bitcoin, or at least had a few Bitcoin, and I'm not so sure what happened with their investments or their holdings at the time, but that was my faintest memory of hearing about cryptocurrencies, and that would have been in the year 2014, 2015. And at that time I was like, well, this stuff isn't real, this stuff isn't legitimate, it's probably a scam, I'm not going to pay attention to it. And I didn't. And fast track to 2017, a bull run, the mother of all bull runs, happened then with monstrous returns, and I like to think I missed out. But timing is everything, and that doesn't mean that if you're just coming into this space, you're late. We're very early in this space, as adoption is still a long ways away. And I figured, if anything, my take on things is I lost a lot of, I gained a lot of knowledge in the losses that I incurred. Let's just say that. And for your benefit as a newcomer, if you're listening to this, I feel it's necessary to at least start here. You may very well have some sources that you'd like to bounce off of, but just make the decisions for yourself as you absorb this information, and be wise. Don't make rash decisions with your investments. And again, this isn't investment advice, this is just my take on things. Just take your time, analyze things properly, be critical about it, and be skeptical, but in an open-minded way, as opposed to a closed-minded, shut off everything that comes your way kind of way. So, as I mentioned, Love for Crypto was my first hit when it came to sources of information, and another one here is obviously Blockchain Backer, but I'll get to him in a second here. So Love for Crypto is where I started, and at least what I stumbled upon was two guys that were running this channel when I initially started with it, and they touched on XRP as a alternative. And obviously, if you're looking at sites like CoinMarketCap or CoinGecko and all these websites that show price points and price fluctuations on a daily basis, on a frequent basis, fairly updated, you'll come to see that XRP is top 3. I drew attention to this because, my attention was drawn to this because individuals or channels like Love for Crypto drew attention to that, and I'll give you guys an opportunity to judge for yourselves in a second here. A second one I came across, which is what I feel resonated with me even more, and also in line with what I learned from Love for Crypto, was S.P.Q.R. Media. These guys as well did their best. Pairing these two channels, they go in depth on research with regards to documentation that's found online, because the internet's a big pool at the end of the day. Documentations of all sorts can be found. So they go through. I was drawn to them because they went through a lot of that information and really shed a light on how they interpreted that information. I felt it was pretty refreshing because it was more of an organic approach to things. Mind you, just to give you guys an idea, I have actually created a Future Trend Today playlist, which has a few videos that I feel you guys may be able to benefit from, and you guys should definitely check that out. It obviously has some of my own videos, but it has quite a few videos from Love for Crypto and S.P.Q.R. as well. So anyway, those are the first two that I came across that I kept toggling between, and then from a fairly consistent basis, I also would touch on Crypto.Airy. Crypto.Airy has been a very consistent contributor to this space as well, in that she analyzes a lot of the happenings on her side of the world and correlates it with what's happening in this space. And I think she's located in Japan. She has a really amazing segment as part of her videos where she touches on things of her interest that she calls the fluff. It's pretty refreshing. You learn a lot of things about Japan with just listening to what she has to say, and she also goes in depth with regards to what's happening in the cryptocurrency space. So, and from a technical analysis standpoint, I'm not a technical person, but I love to hear what technical people have to say. My attention was drawn to Blockchain Backer as an individual to at least that I have drawn a lot of knowledge from, and he just touches on pretty much everything that affects the blockchain space. And he's also XRP centric as well with his content. But at the end of the day, all these individuals draw attention, and mind you, there are a lot more. There's a very, very informative researcher that I love drawing knowledge from, and that's Mr. King Solomon. He says he's not a king, but his contribution to the space is extremely paramount as well. I gain a lot of knowledge from these individuals. There are a few other ones that I, just pay attention to as well every now and then. Crypto Siege as well has a great channel. How I was drawn to him was listening to him while at work, and he would always have his drive time videos of updates in the digital asset space as well. And at the end of the day, you guys could give it a check, give my playlist a check, and then see what videos I'm referring to. That may at least give you an opportunity to have some sort of a foundation when it comes down to learning about this space and what it really means. And by no means should it be a situation where any of this is pressure for you to actually jump into the space. It's important for you to actually take your time and analyze it, be critical, and come to terms with the information that you're consuming and exposing yourself to, and make educated guesses with your investments. And at the end of the day, diversification is important, so that's pretty much that's kind of like the number one rule for investing. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. So anyway, that's how I started. And these are the individuals and the YouTube channels that I gain my alternative information from outside of the mainstream media and Twitter and news on, if I ever get a chance to watch the news. I tend to just hear the Spark Notes or read articles on Google. But yeah, this is where I started, and I hope you guys find some value from this. One thing I would like to announce right now, though, is I managed to. Life happens very quickly. I started this channel. I also started my Twitter account as well, and I managed to secure an interview. I put some feelers up to a few YouTubers, and I managed to secure an interview with none other than the wonderful Lee from S.P.Q.R. And we pretty much just go into how he started and where his mind is at with regards to the direction in which we're all going on a global scale, or just from the financial and technology scopes to begin with. So, well, I hope that makes sense, but I'll be posting that in my next video, so be on standby for that. And yeah, if you guys have any questions, don't hesitate. Please go ahead and leave a comment in the comment section. Like this video, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to be notified every time I make a post on this channel. And I look forward to engaging with you guys as well. Don't forget, you can also reach me on Twitter, and I'm more than happy to chat there as well. So I hope you guys are doing well, and have a great rest of your day, and I'll meet you guys on the next one.